Let's see. All right, we're live. Next week, I will have it down.
Whatever. You've been saying that for 4 weeks.
No, isn't this the second one we did? Maybe this is the third. Yeah.
Third.
All right.
The
Well, but
third.
on the fourth time's the charm. Look, I didn't even set up my video background. All right, so we're not going to worry about it. We have a fun topic today. I went live and couldn't figure out how to get you on because I didn't have my WhatsApp open. So we have to delete those from the pages. Um, anyway, uh, it's so easy. I don't know how I didn't see it all. I got it now. Next time it will be a charm. All
Uh-huh.
right. Today we have a good one. This kind of, I don't really even want to talk about why this one came up, but we were talking about somebody who is super, super, super successful and like I think seven going on eight figure business, but someone who maybe we just don't think has it all together. In my words, I think is probably a train wreck. So I thought, like, does your home life affect your business and vice versa? My thing is, I would think most of the time, yes, and maybe that will come crashing down on this particular person eventually. I don't know, but I do think that there are possibilities where maybe it doesn't for some people, but I would say it's the exception. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, if not impossible, nearly impossible to keep it completely separate. Even if you have a job, it's still going to impact your home life because there's certain scheduling things that are outside of your control, for example. And that's true whether you have a job or whether you own a business. There's certain things that, they're going to conflict with family things. So,
I was thinking more in terms of like if you have a horrible relationship with your spouse or if your kids are like drug addicts and your mind is like, oh my God, what am I going to do about that? Does that, like, I was kind of thinking of like mind wise, does that affect, obviously time, not being able to spend time with your family and stuff because your business, but I think that would go back to the relationship. Like if you had a really good relationship and you discussed it ahead of time, what do you think?
somehow it's still going to find its way in, unless you can completely turn off the emotions around whatever chaos is going on in home life or vice versa, right? Because either way, whether there's chaos in your business or chaos at home, unless you can completely compartmentalize those, then it's going to find its way in, even if it's, you know, even if you put on a happy face at the job, at work, in your business, whatever, or at home. Either way, if you put on a happy face, but there's still going to be those quiet moments, and it's going to sneak back in and nag at you. And, you know,
I see. I kind of think the same thing. I think that if your life outside of business is just chaos or horrible or too much going on, whatever it is, negative in some way. I do think that negativity, I mean, I think I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing things. I think that that's something that for whatever reason, I don't know, I was born with the capability, but I think I am pretty good at that. And I still think that for most people, one would kind of seep into the other, even if you're not aware of it, which would be even worse. Because then you're
and it does.
trying to fix
Go ahead.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that one has to drag the other one down. Kind of like what we talked about last week. It's not like, all right, things are going horrible there, so everything's horrible and life just sucks. And, oh, forget it. Like, it doesn't have to be to that extent to still impact your what you're feeling and how you're responding, and even if it just dampens your joy a little bit, it's still gonna play a role, or to play a enter in somehow.
Yeah, and I think life is so much easier than most people make it out to be. And I think that instead of going like down some crazy, complicated, oh my God, everything is horrible path of this is going to be impossible to fix, if you could just do like some simple little things, depending on where the issue is. But if your work is going good and your relationships are, in the gutter, there are quick kind of little things that you could do, like, leaving notes for each other, or a quick text in the middle of the day, or, making sure that every Wednesday you leave at 5, or whatever it is. There are things that you could do that's not going to totally derail the other. And if it's the opposite, I think, just having a conversation with your loved ones that, maybe in launch, I'm going to be totally, nutty and need your support, and I'm not going to see anybody, bring me some meals, something like that. I think that, if every other time you're working on making sure that you boost those relationships, whether it's with your kids or your spouse or your friends or whatever it is, I think that they would understand when you have those kind of surges. And I think that if your life is complete chaos 24/7, then either, you're maybe in a startup or you're doing something wrong. What do you think?
Well, first of all, if your life is sheer chaos 24/7, then that's not sustainable, and something's going to
Right.
give, and you're going to crash somehow, some way. What it looks like may differ from person to person, but something's going to give. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, I do
Just
think that too.
yeah, chemically inside our bodies, it's not sustainable. Our bodies are just not meant to handle that.
Oh, that's a great one. See, we didn't even bring that up. Is how does it affect your health? Because undoubtedly, if this or this is bad, your health is also going to start going bad. So instead of maybe looking at the negatives, one of the things that I like to say is control what you can control.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, for example, in a relationship, you always talk about react and respond, which I think is so powerful. When somebody really gets the gist of that, it is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't kind of control how your loved ones are acting, behaving, doing. You can't control any of that, right? But you can control your response to them.
Yeah.
And then what you do afterwards. So, if you let that kind of seep into the rest of your world, it's up to you to figure out which parts of that you can control and not. And I do think that if you feel like you're doing what you can do, even if that is a little bit of chaos, that you can still sleep better at night, but it's still gonna not affect it as much if you feel like you're taking control in the most possible ways that you can. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. And on top of that, I always go back to what you focus on gets bigger. So if you're focusing on the negative stuff, then that's going to balloon up in your face and seem worse than it actually is. Whereas if
Uh-huh.
you're focusing on the positives, even if they're just mini wins, whatever, but if you can focus more on the positives, not that you have to ignore the negatives, but focus on the positives, and what you focus on gets bigger.
Yeah, and I think that's really great advice. I'd say, if you do have kind of something, I mean, you look at in the comedy world, like the comedians, a lot of them are really, really funny and appear to be really, really happy, and then they commit suicide because they're, permanently depressed. So actors, actresses, whatever, seemingly awesome on the outside, and then has this other kind of side on the, this other flip side. So I think that looking at our own lives and our businesses and personal and health and all of that, we need to flip the script as much as possible. We need to control what we can control, and we need to always be very, very conscious and aware of where our energy and our mind and our thoughts are going, and make sure that it's not on what's going bad, but on, what you can control and what you can, or what's going good.
Right. But flip the script was last week.
Yeah, but I think you can bring
But
that into
yeah,
it
no,
because
you're right.
Just like you can bring the react and respond into it, because I think that a lot of it is, if everything is negative, let me see what's positive about this and kind of zero in, focus on that part. Or let me, just see which parts of this I can control and get the other ones kind of out of my mind.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Not
I look
that.
at any entertainer. I mean, it's a good example with comedians because so many of them seem to commit suicide or drug overdose or alcohol overdose or whatever the case may be. But entertainers in general, actors, actresses, musicians, uh, all of them, because I don't know if it has to do because they're in the spotlight and the expectations are so high because so many millions of people are counting on them. I mean, I don't know what the reason is, but those they're bringing joy to other people, but they're not bringing any joy to themselves. And I can't begin to address that situation. I can only use it as an example, like you did, and say, you can't focus on the negatives. You've got to really focus on the positives and try to bring them to the top of mind awareness versus the negatives until you can address the problems that are the negatives, because the negatives are a problem that have to be fixed.
Yeah, get a
They're
coach
not
or a
going away. They need to
consultant
be
if it's
addressed.
business, and if it's personal, get a counselor, therapist, whatever you need to do. I mean, if you can't seem to fix it on your own, but
Right. So the question is not can I fix it, but how can I fix it?
or what can I do about it? Because a lot of
Well,
times
how
you
can I
might not
fix
be
it?
able to.
Because your brain, your subconscious brain, will then kick in and help when you're not actively thinking about it. So that way you can focus on the positives, but plant the seed in your brain saying, "Hey, how can I fix this? How can I do this? How can I overcome this? How can I? How can I?" The question, "How can I?" gets your subconscious brain working and solving the problem while you're not you don't have to actively think about it, because sometimes that's detrimental to actively think about it. I mean, writer's block is a prime example.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to definitely be aware and see what you want to think about and focus on. All right, so finishing thoughts, actions. What do you think?
Focus on the positive.
Focus on the positive. I would also say, maybe take 5 minutes and just look at what's going on in your life and your business. And are there any areas where you might be able to improve, and think about the positive things that you could do in those areas to improve them? Whether it's having a conversation or, spending more time in one than the other and flipping that a little bit, or, adding those little touches, making that extra phone call if it's business, whatever it is. I think that there's something that you can do that doesn't have to be the be end all. Don't make everything such a grandiose thing.
Well, kind of like we've talked about with goals. If it's a big problem, then same as with a goal, break it down into smaller pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Remembering to call, or just small things that could make the biggest difference, I think, whether that's business or personal, that follow up, follow through.
Yes.
All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. It is hot and sunny and beautiful here.
It is finally sunny. It's been rainy all week here, but it's not hot. Hotlanta is not hot.
Atlanta is only hot in the middle of summer, and then it's really hot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have an amazing weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Hopefully,
Take
hopefully
action.
you're figuring out how to do both. I mean, balance, I think, is a crazy word. I don't think it'll ever be balanced, but you want to do the best you can do. All right. Ciao, ciao.